Did you know that St. Luke's University Health Network, based in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, has been recognized by the U.S. government as the highest performing health system in the United States for quality? You heard right. St. Luke's #1 recognition affirms our status as the top leader among the most respected healthcare providers in the nation, including Houston Methodist and the Mayo Clinic. To state it simply, if you want to receive the best care when you go to a hospital, come to St. Luke's.
Taxi! Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well. Here we are, and we have some very special guests today. We have, by the way, anyone that's listening to this show must know about Dykeman Street, okay? Dykeman Street, just to give you a little history, was the home for La Marina. It was the home for Mama Juana, Mama Sushi, Papacito, Il Soleil, and many others, the Dykeman Street Bar. I mean, it was an area that was really jumping at one point. It's an area that was built by two ladies that are joining us here today, who started that whole trend on Dykeman Street. And they took a neighborhood that was drug-infested, where junkies were everywhere, drugs were being sold in every store, all the stores were empty. There was no life on Dykeman Street. Dykeman is, for those of you that don't know, is located in Inwood, just north of Washington Heights. Okay, it's an area that's been gentrified and continues to be gentrified, mainly by Columbia students and others that have come into the neighborhood. But before they came into the neighborhood, there was these two ladies who said, you know what? Where people see a disadvantage, where people see danger, where people see little opportunity, we see a lot of opportunity. And with us today is Susana Osorio, who's the owner of Mama Juana and Mama Sushi. And we have Sandra Hackz, who is the owner of Il Soleil. And these women started their business 20 plus years ago. And today, it's a whole different animal. It's a whole different ball game. And this is what we have them here today so that they can speak about the transformation, what it was then, what it was in its heydays, and what it is now. Okay? So, Susana, welcome to No Excuses with Fernando Mateo. We don't put up with excuses here, okay? If you fail, it's your fault. You have to blame yourself. Don't blame others, okay? But let's talk to me about Mama Juana and Mama Sushi, which everyone knows about these restaurants. They're chains all over the place, but the mother of all the restaurants is on Dykeman Street, and you own them. Talk to me.
Well, like you say, more than 20 years when we start. In Dykeman Street. Wow. When you bring me back all those memories, what used to be Dykeman and what we create, Sandra and us in that community. It was something we was the first one in Inwood with sidewalk.
With a sidewalk cafe.
With a sidewalk cafe. When we put chairs in outside, people was like, oh my God, that was full. The capacity is 80 people. We was full all the time. And the sad story, it was going up now, that makes me want to cry for everything what we're going through after 5 years later.
So, in other words, for 15 years, you guys were thriving. You were doing very well. You were the innovators of the outdoor cafes in northern Manhattan. In other words, if you wanted to eat outdoors, you had to come downtown. Until you and Sandra actually built sidewalk cafes, then everyone wanted to stay uptown. And everyone was going down, uptown, that is.
Imagine, Latino, Dominican, Mama Juana, Italian, Il Soleil, in a sushi place. So you didn't need to go downtown. And then a Mexican place. So what would you need to go downtown? So you could stay in Inwood. So we was popular. We was popping. We was like full every day. It was like the energy. All those cars passing by in Dykeman. You recognize Dykeman because of the beautiful car, because all all these actors and all these important people that come around showing their car, blasting the music, and looking for the nice girl in Dykeman sitting at the sidewalk.
The hot girls.
The hot girl sitting at the cafe. So
Yeah.
it was popular.
It was good. It was good, very good for 15 years. Sandra, coming back to you, I mean, you were the first one on the block. How was it for you when you first started, when you first opened your doors? And for 15 years, how did your business do?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. And it takes me back, just like Susana said, to those days when obviously I was born and raised on Dykeman, so that's my neighborhood. And when I decided to open up a business, I was like, you know what, let's do restaurants. Obviously not knowing anything about restaurants, but I just felt that it was the right thing. And I wanted to come back to a place where obviously I grew up, I knew, and a place that I felt that was not deserved, like well-deserved, that like people didn't have these options. You know, people didn't have nice Italian restaurants, nice Dominican upscale restaurants. They didn't have the sidewalk cafes. You needed to go downtown for these things. So I was like, why can't we have this here? You know, this is a beautiful space here. Dykeman is beautiful. So, you know,
saw the beauty where others saw filth, drugs, loneliness.
yes.
I saw
it.
You saw the opportunity because you grew up there.
I grew up there, and going back, I remember standing in front of the venue of the space, and I was like, "This could be beautiful," you know. And it was a risk. It was a huge risk because, like you said, the stores were all filled with crack vials and all these other things, and people didn't want to walk through Dykeman. It was very dark and grim and scary. And we created this beautiful, beautiful neighborhood where now people are flocking to our neighborhoods, wanting to rent because obviously we've changed the area. And just like Susana mentioned, you know, now seeing what it's become, you know, it's really heartbreaking because things have changed.
Question, how much was your rent back then?
When I first started, I believe I was paying like $3,500.
$3,500 a month. Susana,
$3,500.
how much were you paying a month back then?
At Mama Juana, we used to pay $8,000 when we first started. At Mama Sushi, it was $2,000.
So it was affordable.
Yes.
Okay, you were able to make money.
Yes.
You were able to feed your families. By the way, Susana, how many children do you have?
I got 2 children and 1 grandson.
Okay, great. And you, Sandra?
I have 3 children and a granddaughter.
You see, and you're basically single moms, and you're basically raising your kids alone, and you're building your business, right?
Correct.
If you could send a message to Zoran Mandani, the new mayor of New York City, what message would you send? What would you tell him?
I mean, don't give up on small businesses. You know, we are the backbones of the city. We employ locally. We employ so many people. We employ our immigrants. And, you know, unfortunately, especially in the hospitality industry, we need so much help. I mean, people believe that because you have a small business, you're thriving in money and you're making all this money. It's not even the case. Susana and I know for a fact because we've had this conversation, I haven't paid myself in 2 years. You know, and this is where we
Wow.
live off of. 2 years. We've gotten to the point that we are now servers ourselves. We've had to let people go and we've had to take on those jobs. And we are there from opening to closing, making sure that, you know, our business is still running and we're the ones, the face of it because.
What has changed that? Because I go up by Dykeman Street every once in a while. Now you can't drive in front of your businesses. There's no parking in front of your businesses. You have to get off the car and you have to walk to these businesses. Why is that happening, and what changes would you like to see to help your businesses start thriving again?
Since we became not visible, like no car, no traffic around there, so we have a lot of changes, like she mentioned. I'm a service. I'm not an owner. I'm an employee of my own restaurant. So which I'm, you know, I have to stay there more than 8 hours a day because I want to make sure that I'll be able to sustain myself and see what's going to happen. Since, you know, before the pandemic, right after the pandemic, the street became a plaza for us to have an outdoor dining because the street is a little bit narrow, and that's what, you know, we have to use as an outdoor dining during the pandemic. But that was, you know, for a couple of years. That was then. Now the situation is that we're not visible. Nobody knows that we're still there. 3 of the major restaurants that have closed around there, and it's only the 2 of us and 1 more restaurant.
Yeah, right now on Dykeman Street, there must have been 7 or 8 restaurants door to door to door to the door. Right now, you have probably 3 left, right? Because the other 5 have closed. Partially because I've been told that the street closure is hurting you more than anything because people now can't drive through. People can't park on that block, right? Where before they could. So would you ask Mandami to come up there? Would you ask the mayor to come up and see what you guys need in order for you to save your businesses?
Of course, they need to come up. And let me tell you something. Nobody's renting those spaces. You know why? Because they don't want to be in a street that they're not visible. They want traffic.
In other words, the landlords also have all of these empty stores because there's no place for people to drive through. Mm-hmm. Now, your rent, getting back to your rent, you said you paid $3,500, you paid $2,000 and $8,000. What's your rent like right now?
Mine is over $13,000 now.
You're paying $13,000 a month, and you?
At Mama Sushi is $21,000. At Mama Juana is $39,000 or $40,000.
Well, with taxes and all that.
Right.
Exactly.
Can you imagine a small restaurant in Inwood on Dykeman Street where there's no traffic, having to pay $40,000 a month? Mm-hmm. But, what I was told is that a lot of these landlords get taxed over and over and over again by the city, right? So they have to pass that tax bill, forward. They have to move it forward. So they move it to the tenants, right? Mm-hmm. Mayor Mandami, we ask you one thing. If you want to help small businesses, stop increasing the taxes on landlords. Because if you increase the taxes on landlords, you're not increasing it on them. You're increasing it on the small businesses that are trying to survive. Right. Okay? So, one of the things that you're asking for is to open up the block again. Take that part that they built in the middle of the street and take it out, right? Yes. Because it's really a street. It's not a place that should be there. It was there because of COVID, right? Mm-hmm. That's why it was there. COVID is over. Yes. Have you contacted the Department of Transportation? Have you contacted your council member? Have you contacted your assembly member, your senators? Have you?
We have. We've had conversations. Right now, we're actually in conversations to move forward again with the new commissioner. Our council member, our electeds locally, now they support us. Because they've seen firsthand what's happened. They've seen what's going on in this area. They've seen the restaurants that have closed. And, right now we've told them, I said, I don't even think I'll be able to sustain this year. Like, honestly, I don't even know how I've done it so far. And I can't continue taking out loans. I can't continue living this way. So, these plazas are great in certain areas. But you need to understand, you cannot put certain plazas in areas that are neighborhoods with small businesses. You don't have tourists. We don't have tourists. This is great maybe for Times Square, where you have the hundreds of millions of people walking every single day from different countries. But we don't see that. We depend on our local neighborhoods, on our local people to come and patronize us. So when you take away that from them, that they can't have access to us, we are forgettable. People don't even remember that Dykeman exists. Yeah. One time we were like, even on records, fabulous. All these people used to sing about Dykeman. Now people are like, what's Dykeman? What is that? We've gotten,
How much of your business, how far down has your business gone? Percentage-wise?
Over 65%.
So if you were doing $100,000 a week, now you're doing 35.
If lucky.
If you're lucky. And you employ less people because you can't afford it, and you're working yourself without getting a salary. That is tough. And you've got 3 kids, and you have a home to support.
A mortgage and all the bills and everything.
You know what? This is called having no excuses to survive. She's surviving because she has no excuses. And to be honest with you, Susana, what's your situation? How much business have you lost over the course of the years because of this plaza?
Let me tell you something. Sandra is my weakness. Mama Sushi, it used to be a line to go into Mama Sushi.
We know that.
Everyone knows that.
Exactly.
And right now, in my situation, 75%. And I have to say something, Fernando. We have a Across the plaza, we have a park, the Ring Garden. Across the Ring Garden, we have another park. 1 block away, we have another park. So how many parks do we need? How many recreation centers do we need?
Well, kids don't play in the street
No,
anyway.
they don't.
That's for people to go. You're getting a lot of homeless people going
Yes.
there, sitting in front on the street, and you can't tell them to leave because it's an open plaza, right?
It's like, and whatever happening there, they're going to blame the restaurant.
Of
Because
course.
who's sitting at the plaza blasting the music, we're not responsible. And that's the situation that we have right now. They need to open the street so the traffic can go through. They can see that we're still there, that, that is parking. What if it any money for the city? Open the street and put a parking lot, put meters in there.
Ladies, we're going to continue with this conversation because it's very interesting. It's very compelling. But we've got to go to commercial breaks because I've got a lot of sponsors that want to hear their commercial.
Thank you.
This is me, Fernando Mateo. Listen, for those of you that are joining us now, we are speaking to 2 restaurant owners from Northern Manhattan, Inwood, and Washington Heights community, Susana Osorio and Sandra Hackz. Susana owns Mama Juana, Mama Sushi, which a lot of people know those names because they were the ones that made Washington Heights and Inwood what it is. And Sandra Hackz owns Il Soleil, the first Italian restaurant with an outdoor cafe up in the Heights. And they're here because they have a message for Mayor Mondami. They need his help. They need to get rid of this plaza that's sitting right in front of their businesses. It was put there during COVID so that people can eat outside. But COVID is over. The street remains closed. They are losing a lot of business. Susana's business is down 75%. Il Soleil, Sandra's business is down 65%. Yet their expenses have remained the same. Unfortunately, their rents have gone through the roof. But that's due to the fact that the city taxes the landlords. Every year, those taxes go up and up and up. The landlords pass it along to their tenants. The tenants pass it along to the consumer. And the consumer stops going out because they can't afford it anymore. And they say, oh, these restaurants are too expensive. Guys, it's not that the food is that expensive. It's just that their overhead is very expensive. Insurance, to insure a restaurant today, costs you no less than $50,000 a year. Some businesses have to pay $100,000 a year. What do you think the owners of these restaurants are going to make their money? They're going to make their money by jacking up the cost of food. So, listen, what I'm here to say is the following. If we want to create a better economy for the city, we need for the mayor and his advisors, Mayor Mondami and his advisors, to understand that the more you raise the taxes on the landlords, the more storefronts you're going to have empty because the tenants will not be able to afford those high rents, taxes, and all of that. In the meantime, these small businesses are generating a tax base, employees, sales taxes. They're putting a lot of money into the economy. So we must find a way to help them. Susana, one last word for you, please.
I just want to ask Mayor Mondami, his administration, to please to come to Dykeman to sit down with us. We have a lot to talk and to please. I want to keep my business open. Help us this summer, so we can open that street and we can be visualized by everyone. All the traffic can come around there. Please, Mayor Mondami, come and see us. We have a lot to talk. We need you.
I believe that, the mayor wants to do the right thing. He wants affordability for the city, right? The way you get affordability is by giving tax relief to those that are paying a lot of taxes so that they can then trickle that reduction down to the tenants. I think we'll see a better New York if we had if the mayor had advisors that were business people, yes, advisors that understood what it is to struggle. And I think the best way the mayor can understand this is by speaking to small business owners like yourselves, mothers, single mothers raising children, trying to stay in business. Okay? That's what this city is all about. It's about the backbone of the city, which is small businesses. Sandra, tell me a little bit about what you would like for the mayor to do. And speak directly to him, because I'm sure that he is listening to Fernando Mateo, No Excuses.
Well, just like you said, unfortunately, I don't know politics, but I do know business. I know my business. And the way that things are set up right now, it's putting us to fail. And that's what we're doing, because there's just no way for us to sustain. You continue to raise, like you said, these taxes. The landlords are not going to eat that up and be like, let me just pay this and not give it on to you. No, they're going to move it forward. And we're the ones that are going to be left with this debt. And unfortunately, how do we do that? Then unfortunately, we have to let people go. We have to raise our prices. And who loses at the end also? The consumer as well, and the city loses. So it's not the solution. We have to sit down and see what the real solution is. How can we help small businesses? In our particular case is, we need help. We need our plaza opened. We need our streets open. We need people to come back out. We need to push the economy. So people are afraid. People don't want to come out anymore. I've seen more deliveries in the past 2 or 3 months that I've seen people coming out to our businesses to eat. Deliveries are up, but it doesn't benefit us, because obviously if you do deliveries, you don't need an employee, right? And then these third parties take a chunk of that as well. So businesses are now working at a margin as well.
In other words, what Uber Eats and what DoorDash and all these people charge you is basically eating up your profit, right? So it's very difficult to sustain this, and you're getting hit from every angle. Yet you still have a brick and mortar storefront that you have to pay rent, pay taxes, pay insurance, pay for deliveries.
Con Edison.
Con Edison's another ordeal, right? I can imagine what your gas and your electric bills are like. How much longer do you guys think you'll be able to hang in there if you don't get this plaza opened?
I don't see myself going over. I cannot. Within a year, I'm not going to. Because like I said, I'm working right now without making any money. So then what's the purpose of killing myself if I can't even take home, money to pay my bills, my own bills? So it makes no sense to me.
So you've taken out a lot of loans.
A lot of loans.
You've maxed out your credit cards.
Yes.
You've done everything to keep your business going.
Right.
To see if it can turn around at some point.
Retirement doesn't seem anywhere near the near future for me. That doesn't even exist anymore. So yeah.
How old are your kids?
26 and 13.
So the 13-year-old is going to go to college soon, probably another 4 years.
Yes.
The 26-year-old, I'm sure, is helping you, cover the bills. He's out there probably working because he sees that mom, is really doing what she has to do, and it's really unsustainable. I really, my heart goes out to you, really. I feel terrible that what was once the go-to place is now a desert, okay? And I drive by there once in a while, and I look inside these restaurants, and I see the three that are left are empty most of the time. And I know the sacrifice that you've put in to build these businesses.
I just want to say something, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. And like you said, no excuses. We're not here putting up excuses. We're not here, asking for a handout. We're not. We're hardworking women. We're there from morning to end. I don't mind working 20 hours a day if I have to. But we are asking for help to get us to what we used to be, to make sure that our businesses, people do come back out and patronize us, and we could hire more people as well. I used to have over 30 employees. Susana used to have over 50 employees in Mama Sushi alone. Now we're down to I literally have 6 employees.
Oh my God! From 30.
From 30. I have 6 employees.
So you're cooking too.
I'm doing everything. I'm bartending, busboy, whatever you name
whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Susana, how many employees did you have at Mama Juana at one time?
Oof, between Mama Juana and Mama Sushi, I used to have 200 and something employees.
And how many do you have now?
Oof, right now at Mama Sushi, I can tell you I have 22 employees, and they are my family. because they're working with me to push the restaurant
To
I have
help you out.
Of course, my daughter, my sister.
In other words, you have people that are freebies.
Exactly.
That help you because they know your sacrifice.
Exactly.
And Mama Juana, how many people do you have left?
If I tell you, it's incredible.
Tell me.
12 people.
12 from 125 people. She has 12 people left.
Yes.
Okay, in a restaurant. Guys, I've got to give it to you. You're the true definition of no excuses. I hope that you're able to survive. I hope that the mayor is listening and he will open up that street. And I hope that people start coming back to Dykeman Street. That's really what you need.
Yes.
So listen, thank you for being here. I'm glad that you shared your story. And I'm sure that the same story is happening to many people in Staten Island, in Brooklyn, in Queens, in the Bronx, in Manhattan. It's happening to a lot of people. So Mayor Mandami, help the small businesses in New York. If you help the small businesses, New York City will not have a deficit. Okay? If you see how much you've lost, the city has lost in tax revenues with these three businesses, multiply that times hundreds of thousands, and I'm sure that you make sure that the budget, New York City budget, stays online and we don't fall with a deficit. But you've got to start helping the small businesses. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you for having us.